Welcome to the Bourbon Case Files. I'm Nick. I'm here with my partner, Zach. And for our first episode, we're going to talk about E.H. Taylor Single Barrel.
We're here because Nick is a bourbon aficionado. And so let's just find out a little bit about how he got into that. So tell us, how you got into bourbon, what you like so much about it.
Absolutely. So it actually started with our friend Charles, who I've known since, 6th, 7th grade. We didn't get into it back then, but probably 10, 15 years ago, he got into bourbon and introduced me to bourbon. And I kind of fell in love with it. Started with some basic stuff that's pretty easy to find on the shelves, and then really took a deep dive into trying to find some more rare bourbons that I really enjoyed.
Awesome. Now let's talk about your collection. Let's just start out. How many bottles do you have?
Right now, probably about 250 bottles.
And tell us, from the easiest bottle that you like to enjoy frequently to, one of the most difficult bottles that you have.
Yeah. So, everyday sippers, I have quite a few. Four Roses Single Barrel, love that. It's become a lot easier to find Buffalo Trace recently. I also enjoy some, Weller 12. That can be a little more difficult to find. And, you get into some of the really rare stuff. You're talking Pappy Van Winkle, maybe some Weller Single Barrel, Weller Antique 107, stuff like that. So there's a broad spectrum. There's a lot of bourbons out there.
And tell everyone the lengths that you go through and what you do to accumulate all these bottles.
I've joined many Facebook groups online, and I have lots of friends that when they're in stores, if they see something unique or rare, that reach out and say, "Hey, Nick, do you have this? Do you want this?" I'm constantly driving by different stores. I've kind of learned when they get their shipment, when they don't, and hop in there and check it out the day it's delivered to see if there's anything that's allocated that's unique, as well as I'm a member of some of the clubs. Some of the liquor stores around town have clubs that if you accumulate enough points, you become a member, and then they have releases for those club members that I watch very closely to see when that happens.
And I remember a funny story when we were in trial in Tampa. You had gone down early, and you actually took a break from getting ready for trial, and you drove around a bunch of the liquor stores looking for bottles, right?
I did. It's funny you bring that up. I drove around to about 8-9 different liquor stores. And what's funny is what we're going to drink today, the Colonel E.H. Taylor Single Barrel, was actually one of the bottles that I picked up when we were down there at trial. So it's kind of funny that you brought that up. But we probably grabbed 10 or 12 bottles from the different stores. Had some good finds there, some hard to find stuff, which is always great.
Awesome. So each of these episodes, we're going to be trying a different bottle, a different style. So why don't you tell everyone what we're trying today?
Yeah, so today we have the Colonel E.H. Taylor Single Barrel. It is one of my favorites, not as easy to find as you would think, but it's from the Buffalo Trace Distillery, and it is actually bottled in bond. As indicated, it's a single barrel. Every time they pull it out, it's just one barrel. It's not a bunch of barrels mixed together. They specifically choose each barrel individually that they're gonna make in this. And the interesting thing is that this one, a lot of the barrels tend to come out of Warehouse C. Which if you're a big Buffalo Trace fan, what that means is where everyone knows Warehouse C. It's a famous warehouse that actually E.H. Taylor himself had built. When it was back in 1881, I believe, and some of their best bourbons come out of that warehouse.
So E.H. Taylor, explain who he is and why he's kind of a big deal in the bourbon world.
Yeah, so he's actually owned what is now known as the Buffalo Trace Distillery. Edmund Taylor Jr., E.H. Taylor Jr., is one of the founding fathers of bourbon. And the thing that he's probably most famous for is that he actually implemented climate-controlled aging within his warehouses. One of the most famous warehouses at the Buffalo Trace Distillery is Warehouse C, and that is where a lot of the finest bourbons are barreled and aged, and where they're pulled from, including the E.H. Taylor Single Barrel.
And tell us kind of why you chose this bottle for our first podcast and what you like about it.
Yeah, so it's one of my favorites. It's a very smooth bourbon. You get some, on the nose, you'll get some butterscotch notes. If you want to, take a little whiff there. You can kind of taste some dried, or smell some dried figs. When you taste it, it has almost like a creamy vanilla flavor to it. It's a very smooth bourbon, very smooth. It's one of the ones that my wife, when she'll sit down and have a glass with me, that she can sit there and sip with me. And it's not terribly difficult to find. You usually can't find it at MSRP. You have to actually go and look on the secondary market, but occasionally you get lucky.
And you mentioned this single barrel. We also hear about small batch. What's the difference between those two?
Yeah, so small batch just means that they take multiple barrels and they mix them together. And they're trying to make it uniform so that when they sell the different bottles, E.H. Taylor has a small batch. It's a very good bourbon, but it's more uniform. The single barrels will tend to be, sometimes you'll find unique flavors because it is unique to that single barrel.
And what's the price of a bottle like this?
So MSRP now is probably $70 to $80. On the secondary market, though, you're probably paying close to $200 for the bottle.
And if someone wanted to find this bottle, what would you recommend to them? How what's the best way to go about trying to get a bottle like this?
See if you have a friend that has one that has a couple extras. But no, there's definitely stores depending on where you're located. I know a few in the Tampa area that they pretty frequently have them. Now again, they mark them up at the MSRP. The other ways is if you're a member at some of the other liquor stores into their clubs, when they do their sales specifically to club members, and then you can hop in and get them.
And is this one you drink like neat like this with no ice, or do you typically like it with ice, or how do you do it?
This is one that I think you can do either way. It kind of depends on your preference. I thought, we drink it neat, take a sip or two, and then I have some cubes here that we can put it on and see how the ice kind of changes the flavor.
All right, let's give it a shot. Yeah, definitely real smooth, caramel, buttery, real nice.
Yeah.
Very little burn.
Very little, and it leaves that nice lasting taste on your palate.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's real good.
So that's a very good one. Get out a cube here so you can see the difference. See if I can do this properly.
And when you drink your bourbon, is it usually alone, or do you like it with food or anything like that?
That's the great thing about bourbon. It can be enjoyed either way. I'll get home sometimes and have it as a cocktail that I have before dinner. Kind of sip on it, while my wife and I are preparing dinner, talking about our days, talking to the kids, seeing how school's gone. I can also enjoy it. When we go out, sometimes, we'll have a nice steak dinner, open a bottle of wine with it, and then as an after-dinner cocktail.
Within the E.H. Taylor brand, there's other bottles that you have. What else do you recommend within E.H. Taylor?
Well, the basic one is the small batch. As I said, it tends to be more uniform than the single barrel. And then there's the barrel proof. It's a stronger taste to the barrel proof. It's very good. I haven't had, there's also, I believe there's a rye, and I have not had that yet. I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in a store to purchase it. So that's one of those many that I need to get out there and get.
You talked about bottled and bonded. Talk about that. What does that mean?
Yeah, so the bottled and bond started with the 1897 Bottled and Bond Act. And so it was meant to protect the consumer by making sure that the alcohol was federally regulated and you were getting what you were paying, what you paid for. So it started with bourbon. It has to be a single distillery during a single season. So fall or spring, it has to come from that. It has to be aged for a minimum of 4 years. It has to then be bottled at exactly 100 proof or 50% alcohol. And then they have to label it that it's specifically bottled in bond, and it has to be clear on the labeling. And finally, it's stored in a warehouse that is actually federally regulated, that this is being watched and supervised, and to make sure that it meets those standards. So what do you think of the E.H. Taylor single barrel?
It's good. It's one of the better that I've ever had. Real good.
It is. You know, it's the mash bill on this is undisclosed. Buffalo Trace doesn't let you know what exactly percentages of things, but it's thought to be less than 10% rye. Don't know if that's accurate or not, but it's that might explain why you get a little less burn and why it's so smooth.
Yeah, that's real good. I like it with the ice because it's a little cooler, but you could drink it either way.
Appreciate you guys all listening in today, checking us out. Make sure to like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and follow us, and we'll see you the next time.